Hello everyone, my name is Boris, bringing you another VOD review. Today we're going to be looking at a game from Title, as there is a big cup happening right now in Asia, called the MG Cup in preparation for the upcoming TPC over the next weekend. And why not jump in a game with a two-time world champion and see how he is approaching his preparation for the upcoming tournament over the weekend. We are playing in the Sera encounter, so we can expect to be quite strong boards with the triple prismatic augments coming in. And let's see how he manages to fare against those. We start out with the Ionia, which I believe to be Path of Spirits, if I call that correctly, and also we are holding on to the 3 Demacia units, something we can consider playing around. We also have a Spirit Visage we can consider, and yeah, we're going to tag in Ionia right now. We have components more leaning into the AP. We're going to do a scout around. This is taking place right before the B patch, where the Aurelian Soul is going to be addressed. Therefore, it's a possibility we might consider playing for that. However, for example, NA Scrims did decide to just ban him. Now, for the augments, we have flexible, generally, currently, slightly underperforming augment, and we have quite clear direction of playing around either Ionia or Demacia, therefore we would not consider that. Same goes for Worth of 8, we have the direction. This could very much toss our game apart. Therefore, we unfortunately would have to default to the Lucky Gloves. However, he opts to roll it right away. Alright, so he's probably valuing the emblem power quite stronger, and as well that the Vempa provided. We did get an econ option, therefore we are fine to roll the other 2, and we get Upwards Mobility, which is a better econ augment in our current position, as we do not have someone who would be able to hold the Mogul's Mail, I believe. Yeah, we're going to go for Upwards Mobility. We will be taking something like the Shimmer Essence, where we can get Mogul's Mail to toss on a 2-star tank. We would be nicely be able to also toss even 2 items on him if we wished, and that would be very strong. However, here we can just opt to make 10 and play around the Ionia package. Now, it seems that we already picked out a comp that we would be interested in playing against, but since we're playing with Upwards Mobility, we are fine to lose streak here and perhaps look to secure components. See that there is already a person playing into Ionia with a Rageblade and IE Slam, and there is an Ori player. Therefore, we can play for now, it's considering possibility. There's definitely another Ori player with 9 lives. The Oriana comp seems to be very hot right now, as people have realized her power also not as only as a reroll comp, but as an item carrier to transition into something like a Seraphine Lissandra. And it looks like we are playing around some sort of this AP core as well. We're just going to go for a JG Slam, perhaps in hopes that we could kill a unit, but unfortunately we are not able to. Going to leave open the tier. They could probably going to transition to some form of mana item then. And the belt then can be used as a potential variable unlock. Slots into a Piltover, check that we have the damage mod. Or we could also, we can keep these options open to be able to play around Kaisa as well. JG is going to work great on her. We would want to some form of attack speed item then, but we're able to see how we play it out. And also we're going to unlock Oriana this way, which is a very, very strong unit as mentioned to transition into these AP lines. Seems to be more the default way nowadays than LeBlanc, since it's just so much easier to 2-star your 2 cost. And generally, if you're playing from a weaker spot, you would want to be rolling on something like level 6 to be able to stabilize your board and then save some of the lives on stage 3 to be able to then go and perhaps even sometimes delaying your level 8 if necessary. However, we are playing a very strong econ augment, so it shouldn't be an issue. It appears that there is a player already with Oriana 2, therefore we might be a little in troubles. But I guess we'll see. We also pick up a Loris here that we could consider holding on to as a potential to play around 4 Piltover. However, that would require us to find a Seraphine early, but the Loris does make the final board, I believe, if you're playing around Seraphine and Lissandra, so we're going to go for it. Also going to complete an Asher's here, who's going to greatly synergize with the JG. Seems to be the default build to go for nowadays, just playing around Nashers and double Nashers and JG. Due to the recent Nashers buffs. Able to pick up a Navy at 2 here. We might delay holding on to the 9 lives player is just like, I'm going for 5 loss. If we queue into them, well then, this is what it is, I suppose. We're going to hold on not to making this unit, as otherwise someone else might open on us and we might lose. Also, we're making a 30 by holding on to a Vi pair, so therefore we're just not going to value this upgrade, as it's also not making our final board in most of the times. And Oriana is just... Oriana with her current power level could even be stronger than the Navy 2 without traits active. Able to also pick up an eco pair, so I would be definitely considering a potential build to roll here on 3-2, as we are sitting on a couple of frontline pairs that definitely could help our Orianna to be able to kill more units. So now we're probably going to be considering also making some form of frontline items. We could also opt to make a Morello if we wish to. Slot in another Piltover mod, we get the acceleration gate, which is generally going to help Orianna cast more right now, and then we could also consider going for an Archangels and the Sunfire Slam. I'm interested to see how we work out these items. We do also have the possibility of just going, alright, we're gonna go with a Bow and leave the belt open for perhaps a Morello or a Volibear item. Bow generally strong item, especially on Loris, as he is able to gain the shield and get his taunt off faster. On the 3-2 augment we have Luxury Subscription, which again would lead into... We could perhaps play off the power spike, however there are some low rolls you can get, and we have clearly established direction in a comp that does not necessarily not many 5 costs, so it wouldn't be that strong. Hold the line, we're not going to be playing that many units. And G-Leaf, generally we have the econ sorted right now, we'd perhaps be probably looking for some kind of item augment. However, we do not value the Jeweled Lotus as much either, and we're just going to wrap indecision, going to just say, okay, we're going to commit losing through loose streaking here, we're fine with just making econ. We have the upwards mobility giving us some HP. We could also consider being 75 HP here. We can consider to perhaps even send it on 4-1 if necessary. We are holding on 4 pairs, and I would consider 3 of them to be quite strong pairs. Well, 2. I'm not sure about the Y being able to provide that much on this board currently. However, we haven't managed to find an Orianna pair, and I believe there are so many people playing around Orianna that he's opting not to roll for it. And we're able to pick up a Seraphine as well right away. We find a Zoe pair. So we're still keeping that ASOL out as a possibility. And we certainly have the items. This is the thing with the current state of the game of double Nashers, JG being such a strong combo that leads into almost every AP caster, that if you have this build, you can just go for it. And I believe that's why it might be also keeping up the last belt open, as if we are here quite prio on carousel, we can opt to just take another bow and commit to the double Nashers JG build. Now there is a Lissandra with a bow that would definitely also make us maybe lean into this line more. I'm not exactly sure if there are more people playing around the ASOL. Therefore, we might not consider go for it. We're going to roll here a little bit, pick up a Loris to able to find a Orianna pair as well. Just having used our free roll, is probably going to stop here for a bit. And it's interesting to see that he does still seem to value Orianna more than a Seraphine and Liss 1. Certainly with the acceleration gate built over mod, she's able to spam cast very, very much, which probably plays part of it into this power. And yeah, Orianna one just doing so much work here. Now we have our real augment selection. Min-max, a little slow on the meta. Red buff and the blue buff could give us sort our one part of the anti-heal, and in the Lissandra Seraphine pair you do want also to itemize your secondary carry and use a lot of items. And Retribution would play into something more of a melee carry comp, therefore we're not going to opt for it. You have Invested, which is delayed, and Band of Thieves is also going to be kind of delayed. However, the question here comes down to, I believe we want items. I think we have the econ sorted out. We did have to lose our free rerolls, but we did lose streak for a while, so I believe we have enough econ to still hit our board, and we have the 1-star versions already. So yeah, we're just going to go for the 1 buff, 2 bluff. Going to get that anti-heal right on Seraphine as well. Now we can just purely focus on starting our front line out, as we have 5 item backline already. And we have an open road to play around as well. Unfortunately, we queue into quite strong Demacia board. It seems to be from a 9 lives player, just realizing that Dorian is so contested in this game that he needs to find a way to maximize his placement, and he's able to find Garen too already. That is kind of scary. However, fortunately we fought him right before. Did break our streak there. Right, so since we have rolled on level 7, we're going to delay. I'm going to slam a spark here, not the prime tank item I would be looking for, but we can just consider moving it off later on, and we had no option to make a void staff, so this is definitely going to give us the highest power spike on our board right away. And yeah, very much playing around this Orianna carry. The Ori 2 nerf, the Orianna nerfs that are incoming with a B patch are certainly hopefully going to be working out well. Now, at this point, I believe we have the items. However, the belt overflow would give us 1 more marks, but then we were left with 2 open belts that could potentially transition to volley items, but we would be holding on and losing them on power. I would be considering something like Soul Awakening. However, our units cannot really use the AD component, and it's generally working better in the stall comp, which I'm not sure if the Sera Ori line definitely is. Therefore, we could consider just securing more econ to definitely be able to hit our board. Celestial Blessing is not something that we would be particularly interested in either, and Band of Thieves again. Quite a late augment. Therefore, just going to go for the Money Monsoon and enable us to secure that we're able to spike right away and hit our board. And in the meta, where there's so much time being spent on level 8, we could consider chasing a potential 3-star forecast as well. I'm going to sell a Seraphine pair and it's going to be like, yep, this Orianna is just so strong. And particularly we can consider chasing a 3-star forecast as we do have that golden dupe. So if we're able to fit our board naturally with this golden dupe, we can definitely get a 3-star forecast out. I'm not sure if there's anyone playing around something like a Braum. Or I know the Orianna players are going to be picking up Lysandras, Seraphines, and Braums. However, we're looking and I don't see anyone playing around Braum particularly, or Lysandra right away at the moment. Seraphine's definitely going on the mini board. See, we have an interesting ASOL variation of Ori 3. And we were also able to pick up the Azir on our roll down. It's a little bit high roll, but this is going to enable us to start unlocking the Sharimans. No, Braum does get picked up here. We're generally wishing to complete a 3rd tank item right now, so we're going to go for a defensive component in the cloak. Having transitioned items now to the Braum. We are positioning in a way so a lot of players generally tend to prefer to have their Lysandra in the middle. However, the thing with Lysandra's spell is that the extra damage she does around the corner is, like around her main target, is split between all the other enemies. So if she's hitting a lot of enemies, then that damage component tickles them in a sort of way. However, if you're able to get this unit to cast on a single target, then she can actually deliver a nuke. If you've ever seen something like a fish jump on your Lysandra or a Diana, the damage she can dish out is still considerably quite strong. And it's something definitely I would be looking to seeing if ever they do give her a little slight buff, then she could very much become full meta. And this is also a reason why she's generally better in the earlier stages of the game, as in like stage 4 and early stage 5, before there's just so much HP being tossed on the board. We are holding on to a MF2, so they're definitely, I believe, leaning into this 3-star forecast potential, as we have identified that there's no one in the lobby playing around an MF, so we're going to keep rolling down here in hopes of also getting our Seraphine too, but I believe we're just fully committing for this chase 3-star forecast mission. It's definitely becoming more and more prominent time of game style. Going to complete a declaw here. Going to make another JG to slap on. Did not 2-star a Seraphine, so this Orianna is sticking around on board, providing 4 Piltover as well. And with Acceleration Gate, definitely a strong variation to be playing around. We are on 6 Braums already, plus with a dupe. Therefore, I believe we're going to be sending it here in hopes that no one can deny us. Able to finally pick up the 2-star Seraphine, which is so contested. And yeah, it seems that Ishtal player has opted not to play around. This would be the Ishtal reroll board, but the one with the Brock has opted also to not play around the... Well, there is a Lissandra player, so there is... But they have not went for a Braum, I believe? Yeah, so we're just diligently scouting around to make sure that no one's holding our units, and it doesn't appear to be anyone holding the Braum, therefore we can commit to it, and there is a Lissandra player on the Ishtal board. No, this is the Demacia board, yes, there is a Lissandra on the Demacia board, as they managed to 2-star her, so... At this point, when we have rolled down so much, and we identified the spot that we are not going to be able to cap out so much, this is our way of winning out. We are dropping down to 1 life now here, so... We need to have our shops blessed a little bit, and there's a person chasing Kaisa tree as well. There's no way we can deny that. Having our level best gold, and we're starting to downgrade another board to see, because this is our final stand that we can make. We find the 1 Braum, we're just 1 more off. Going to keep rolling, keep downgrading our board in hopes we do find the final Braum, able to make it. But do we have enough damage left on this board? Hit it in the nick of time to be able to queue into this matchup. Just tossing items on right now is going to be extremely important, as we do need to get that damage out before our Asol is able to take our full board down. And with the Braum, last one standing, we have managed to finally secure the fight win. And at this point, we just have to be wary that there's no one else who has picked up the 3-star forecast, as our damage department is fully lacking right now. Our rest of the board is fully 1 star. And something like these threats of the Asol and the Brock can definitely be quite scary for us. And however, the Braum seems to be doing quite decent damage. Sometimes the issue with these 3-star forecast tanks is that they just don't have damage, they're just a meat shield on the board. However, Braum has that big punch in him. The big mustache man is able to deliver a punch to the enemy front lines and able to get us through, even on a fully downgraded board. So I believe very, very well read that there's no way we can outcap the Ishtal player, there's no way we can outcap the Asol players. Therefore, by taking Common Score in 4-2, we are saying, okay, our way to how we're coming in the game right now is by going for a 3-star forecast. Then we're chasing another, perhaps in the form of Lissandra, as the Demacia player has fallen. No, we're just going to look for any kind of upgrades we can on our board. Have managed to pick up a 2-star Lissandra. Is that going to be enough to be able to sustain against an Asol 2 and a Zoe 3? Now our Braum gets picked up by the Skarner, so there's going to have to 1v1 the Asol again. Is he able to do it? Yes, with his big shield up, he's able to withstand, and tossing in nicely the Tarek to provide the extra magic resistance with a Declaw. That's the way that he has been able to take care of the very, very stacked Asol board. And I believe we're just going to win out from here. If we were able to beat that Asol there, well, it was somewhat close. We have more room to grow than them right now. Even though they're scaling, we still have 2-star archeries. We have the gold coming in from the Money soon. And Ishtal players just not gonna have any kind of chance against us. So now our final boss, the Celestial Dragon himself. Is it going to be enough? I believe to be so. And let's just going to see. Now we have positioned in the way for our tank to fully take the aggro. And again, we get trapped to the Skarner's side, and it's coming down all to the Braum to be able to get through this board. And unfortunately, the Asol has outcapped us. Very nicely, again, recognized by Title that the only way he can gain placements in this lobby is to go for the 3-star forecast. And that got identified already on the 4-2 Augment selection. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something new the same way as I did. And I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.